Hello, I'm Adib Saikali, and I'd like to show you how to SSH into a Warden container that's running an application on Cloud Foundry. Now, please keep in mind this is just a demo. In a production scenario, in day-to-day life with Cloud Foundry, you're not going to be SSHing into running containers. So please don't try this on a production system. Okay? This is just for those who keep asking me, hey, how do I SSH into a running container? So I thought I'd make this screencast to answer that question. All right, step one is we're going to need to SSH into our operations manager. So as you can see here, I have an ops manager and it's running on 192.168.0.75. So I'm going to start out by saying SSH tempest at 192.168.0.75. I'm going to type in my password, and I'm inside the operating system that's hosting the ops manager. Now, why am I here? I'm here because I want access to a Bosh command line, and there is a Bosh command line that's installed on this particular operations manager. So if you look at the advanced troubleshooting guide for Cloud Foundry from our docs, you'll be able to see the instructions on how to follow along what I'm doing. Okay, so you probably just want to Google for this advanced troubleshooting with Bosh CLI. So the first step that I'm going to do is after I SSH into it, you see the instructions here for vSphere and for AWS. After I SSH in, I'm going to need to log into the Bosh director. In order to log into the Bosh director, I need a Bosh command line. And the Bosh command line is written in Ruby, so all I need to do is copy and paste this command right here. And I can then type Bosh, and I should see the Bosh command line. Think of the Bosh command line the same way you think of the Cloud Foundry command line, the CF command line. It lets you perform operation against a remote Bosh director. So the next step after I have a Bosh command line is that I need to actually target the director. This is what is shown here in this step, which means I need to know the IP address of my director. The way that I find the IP address of the director is that I go to my ops manager and I click on the vSphere tile in this case, and then I click on status, and there it is. That's the IP address 192.168.0.76. That is the IP address of the ops manager director. So what I should be able to do now is copy that back here to my instructions, and I'm going to type Bosh target, and I'm going to paste that address. So now it's telling me that, hey, I contacted 192.168.0.76 and I found an instance of the Bosh director there. So what I'd like to do next is I'd like to log into this Bosh director, and in order to do that, I can type Bosh login, and I need to know the username and password. Well, how do I find this out? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to my test installation, and I'm going to click on the credentials tab. And as I scroll this down, you can see here under the Ops Manager Director, there's a set of credentials for the director. So I'm going to use the username director, just copy and paste it, and I'm going to use this password that's there. And now I'm logged into the Bosh director. So now I can type Bosh commands like Bosh VMs, and that will tell me which virtual machines are currently making up my current Bosh deployment. Okay, so now that I have access to the Bosh director, the next step that I need to do is to be able to SSH into one of the VMs that Bosh is managing. That's what I'm going to show you next. All right, so now that we are able to have a Bosch command line that's pointed at the Bosch director that's part of our Cloud Foundry install, the next thing we need to do is we need to select the product deployment that we wish to troubleshoot. So as you can see here, the first command is to look for, we can type Bosch deployments, and we can see that there are a bunch of deployments here, 3 Bosch deployments, one deployment with 3 releases. And we'd like to find the manifest YAML file for that, so we're going to use this command. We're going to copy and paste it in here, and there it is. All right, this is the same thing that matches here. There's some more verification steps here that we do. For example, we can do Bosch status to find out what is the UUID of the director that is managing this thing. And then we can actually open up the file and compare the values that we find in there. So if I take this value here, copy it, oops, let's do this guy here, copy that, and then I take this guy here, I'm just going to copy him into the clipboard, go in here, and you can see /search, there it is, right there. Alright, so I know that I've got the right file. Once I have the right file, then the next step that I need to do is in step 4 here, I need to tell Bosch where this deployment is. So the way I do that is I type Bosch deployment, and then I can specify the location of the YAML file. Paste that. And now it tells me that the Bosch command line is going to work against the deployment defined in this file. The next thing I can do is, you can see here some commands. It says you can do Bosch VMs to list all VMs that are deployed. We could do a cloud check to see which VMs need to be repaired, or we can do SSH. That's what we're interested in, so I'm going to scroll down here to the instructions for Bosch SSH. So what I can do now is I can type Bosch SSH, and as you can see, it's going to list all of the VMs that are running as part of that deployment right now. And you can see here that I have some DEAs. So let's see, where are those DEAs? Number 16 and 17. So I'm going to pick number 16 and see what we can find on that. All right, now if I had a Bosch deployment with, if I had an Elastic Runtime deployment with, let's say, 100 DEAs, I would have to guess where's my app running that I want to SSH into. In this test install, I only have 2 DEAs, so I have a 50-50 chance of actually finding the right DEA that's running my app. So I'm going to choose instance number 16, and it's going to then ask me to pick a password. So I'm going to just pick a very secure password called password. Alright, so now that I'm actually in the DEA VM, what I'd like to do is become root on that VM. So I'm going to do sudo su and root, and I'm going to use the password that I picked earlier. I'm not typing it because I already did that once before in the video recording. And what I would like to do now is I'm going to type htop, and I'm going to get the htop program, and I've configured it here with the F5 key to be a tree view. Okay, so when I hit the F5 key, it's in tree view, and I'm also going to search for the thing for processes of type WSHD. That's the Warden shell, the Warden daemon, basically. As you can see here, I'll see a bunch of processes. So there's this WSHD with 18 KB0 J6 J86. That's one container. Here's another container with a different ID. Here's another container. Here's another container. And there you go. Here's another container. Now this container here looks like it's running some Java code. and that's might be where my app is. Let's see what else is there. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to just randomly guess that this is the app that I'm looking for over here. And I know its ID. So what I'm going to do next is copy this value here. So maybe I'll just copy this as what I'm looking for. And go here to my editor, and I'm going to just save it because I think this is where the app might be running here. Okay, so now I'm going to quit this, and the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to use some instructions from this troubleshooting applications page from the cloudfoundry.org website. And what it's going to tell me to do is that I should look at this file right here, var vcap data dea next db instances.json, to find the Warden handle that is associated with a different container. So let's try see if this works. Oops. We don't want that one there. We want this guy right here. Alright, so this is a database of all the different instances that are running. So I can go here now and I can then say, go back to my editor, and I think the app might be running here. So let me just copy this guy, go back to my terminal, go to my VI, paste that, and it certainly looks here like there is some sort of instance running, and it indicates that it is music, and it is the music. It's going to run at music.examplecf.com, which is where my test install is running. So now that I've verified the identity of the handle for the container, my next step is to actually access the Warden container, and this is going to involve getting access to this SSH command, and let's just kind of go like this and see if we can find it. Alright, so now I'd like to track down the container, and I need to go to this particular path here. So let me try to see if I can find this. And you can see here that there is in fact a program called SSH. That's what I can use to get a shell inside of the container. And what I need to do is I need to pass it some arguments. So when you look at this example here, we need to say -- socket, and then the path to the .sock file, and then -- user vcap. Now will get us into the container. So I've already done this earlier, so I'm just going to hit the up arrow key, and boom, as you can see, I'm now the user vcap inside of this container here with this particular Warden shell, and I can look in here, look around to see what's there. I can type ps. So as you can see, I'm inside the container, and I can just poke around and do whatever I want. So that is an explanation of how you can get access to the container that's running an app. So let's just see what's in here. Well, we don't have the tree command. There's a very limited set of commands that you would have here. Again, this is not intended for you to log in and do stuff. This is really about you using the system, right? And just letting Cloud Foundry manage these containers for you. That's what you want. So if we go back here, just to review how we did this, we logged into the DEA, and then we used the htop program to locate our where our app was running. We got lucky. We guessed correctly. The DEA0 had Tomcat running on it, and you can see here the Tomcat and the threads that are part of Tomcat that htop is showing. So now we can exit, and that will take us back out of the root into the DEA. We hit exit again, and we're out of the DEA, and we're back inside of the Ops Manager where we initiated the SSH tasks. So if we want to SSH again, remember we had to do bosh SSH to select the DEA that we were looking for. So just for fun, let's take a look to see what's on the other DEA. So we have here some choices. Looks like we did DEA 16 last time, VM 16. Now we're going to try VM number 17. So let's try number 17. And we'll pick a password. Alright, let's sudo and type in the password. And now we can use htop, and we can go searching for via F5 for searching, looking at the tree, and then searching for the WSHD processes. So it looks like this guy has 3 containers, and looks like it's running 3 different Ruby apps on it. Interesting, interesting. Okay. So again, these containers can't really emphasize how important it is to understand that these are containers that are created for you by Cloud Foundry. They are managed for you by Cloud Foundry. And while you can, in theory and in practice, SSH into them, there's really very, very little value for you to doing that, because that's not how you build a scalable system. Had I had 5, 10, 100 instances of my application running, it would be impractical to SSH into 100 containers and see what's going on in them. Really, very little interesting stuff happens in the container other than the fact that it just runs your application. Right, so thanks so much for taking the time to watch me demonstrate how to SSH into a Warden container that's running your application on Cloud Foundry. And again, I really want to emphasize that this was just a demo. This is not something you would do in production. So please don't do this on your production system. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch the video.